What's up, everybody? Thank you for joining me once again on my channel, Think Well 24. I'm so glad that you decided to tune in once again. And if this is your first time tuning in, welcome. So, I don't know if you guys know, but I really enjoy watching baseball. I love watching Little League baseball, softball, college baseball, softball. I'm into it. I'm here for it. And I'm a Yankees fan, and I'm excited about the possibilities this year, especially after such a dismal season last year. But some recent changes have been made, which for most Yankees fans, we've been recognizing and wanting to see for a long time, changes that needed to be made during a particular time of the game involving pitching. But finally, some changes have been made, but it was just frustrating because it seemed that many Yankee fans recognized this change, that recognized that it was necessary. It seemed that we all saw it. It was clear to everyone except the Yankees. But some changes have been made, and so we will see how effective these changes are, because ideally the goal is to get through the playoffs, to get to the World Series. So that's what every baseball team wants. That's what we want as fans. We want our team to get to the World Series and hopefully win. But you cannot do that, get to the results that you want to get, if you don't make the changes, if you don't make effective changes. And that leads me to my topic of discussion today. What changes are you willing to make to get the desired results? And so oftentimes this can be a very challenging thing, and I want to touch on these two areas of difficulty. Number one, why is it so difficult to recognize that change is necessary, as we saw with the Yankees? And number two, why is it so difficult to make the actual change? And that could have been the case. Maybe they saw it, recognized it, they just didn't, air it out in public, but it was just difficult to make that change. But these are the two questions that I want to tackle today. So the first question is the difficulty in recognizing the need for change. Why is it so difficult? Well, the first thing that I want to look at is pride, and pride can be such a problem in so many different areas for so many very different reasons. And oftentimes we can be deceived because we think that because we're not prideful in this particular area, that we're not prideful in any area. And oftentimes, if you don't deal with it as a whole, it can grow and it can begin to seep into other facets of our life. So that is something that you have to be diligent about, always making sure that you are not allowing pride to deceive you in any way. But pride keeps us from admitting that we are the actual problem, or that there is an actual issue, there is a lack of results, and that lack is our own fault for whatever reason. And so if you're dealing in pride, that already shaky, low self-esteem in that particular area won't allow you or us to admit the lie that we've been telling, which is that, oh, everything, I know what's best. What I'm doing is right, or I've already tried everything, and what's in place is actually the best solution to the matter. So pride won't allow us to even consider that what we're doing may no longer be effective, or what we put in place really never really took off. So make sure that you don't allow pride to get the best of you. The second thing that I want to look at is the blame or victim mentality. And this is a mentality where we blame other people. It's never our fault. We never take responsibility for our part in the results that take place. We've seen this sometimes where you can have leaders be in powerful positions, and something takes off, something jumps off, something bad happens, and they never take responsibility, never even acknowledge the possibility that they played a part in something. And that's not what we want as leaders. And so these particular people who have this type mentality, they blame other people, they blame everything else, they make excuses saying things like, oh, it wasn't me, it was that person, or we're just unlucky, or it was bad timing, the economy wasn't right, or it's just that nobody likes me, it's false news, or I can't find anyone to help me, or nobody will give me a chance. And so we make excuses, or we blame everyone and everything else. The third thing we want to look at is denial. And this is where we just refuse to even say that there is a problem. And oftentimes pride and denial work together, where we just refuse to acknowledge the truth about the condition that we're in. We say everything is fine, or it'll just work itself out, or it's not that big of a deal. We just need a little bit more time, and everything will be fine. And so I just want to put out there that you don't want to confuse denial with optimism. So let's just clarify here what optimism is. Optimism acknowledges the problem, but believes that with the necessary changes, everything will be fine. Whereas denial thinks everything will be fine while continuing to do the same thing, which is, actually nothing at all. So let's get into the next area where we address the difficulty in making the actual changes. And oftentimes it's difficult to make changes because of the relationships that we've developed, where we become too close with the people that we work with, and then we mix personal feelings with the professional decisions that we make. We can see them oftentimes with managers, team leaders, supervisors, where you've maybe developed a friendship with your people, and sometimes because you really like them as a person, it can be difficult to address maybe their areas of weakness that are causing some difficulty in the work process. Or I've even seen this sometimes with coaches, to where coaches of teams, where you may have a good relationship with the parent, and maybe the parent is doing a lot of stuff for the team, the team mom doing all the administrative work, doing all the fun things with the team. And so oftentimes as a coach, you don't want, or you're hesitant to make those changes with the person's child, because you like the person, you like the parent, and they're doing so much, and you don't want to ruffle any feathers with the help that you have, because you need it. But you recognize that it's this person's child that is being a liability on the team. And so it can make it difficult to make the change in that area. But again, if we want to get the results, if you're a coach and you want to win, then those changes have to be made. Or if you're your team leader and you're responsible for a particular group, and you need to get these results happening, then you have to go ahead and make those changes. The second thing we want to look at is bad counsel. This can make it difficult to make actual changes, because we allow the wrong people in our ear, and they're telling us the wrong thing. So you never want to be afraid to have people in your circle that are more knowledgeable than you in certain areas, because that can help you to avoid bad counsel. So sometimes we put people in our circle because we've been friends with them a long time, or sometimes we don't have a circle at all. And so we're kind of just listening to ourselves, or we're listening to our mom or our sibling who's never had any experience in this, particular area. And so we have the wrong people in our ear. And so you never want to be afraid to have people around you that tell you the truth, even though it may be difficult for you to hear. So again, we want to make sure that we're avoiding bad counsel, and sometimes that can make us not make the changes because they could be telling us do this, do that, or don't do that, don't do this, and we never end up making the changes that we need to make. The third thing I want to look at is being indecisive, and oftentimes we're indecisive because of fear. So we'll look at those two things together because really they go hand in hand, because really the only reason that you don't make a decision is because of fear in some way or another. So you're afraid to make that final decision. You're afraid to pull the trigger for fear of it being the wrong trigger, the wrong decision sometimes. And so we can't, and sometimes I just talked about making sure that we have a circle of people so that of knowledgeable people so that we can avoid bad counsel. But it's also necessary that we be mindful that we don't have too many people in our ear, even though they all may be knowledgeable in that particular area. You maybe want to pick just one person. You don't want to have 3 4 financial advisors. You don't want to have 3 or 4 attorneys. Just 1 2 of those maybe are good enough, because even though they may be knowledgeable, we all have different experiences, and sometimes those experiences can play into the counsel that we give. And so sometimes you can have all of these different people giving you all different counsel, saying all different things, and that can make it the final decision even more difficult because you have too many people telling you too many different things. So you want to make sure that you have a small circle of counsel, of people that you trust and that they trust you, so that you can have that accountability, a mutually beneficial relationship, because they're trusting you to give them counsel and you're trusting them. And so everybody's considerate because they know that the counsel that I give you is plays a role in your success, and I don't want you giving me bad counsel because I gave you bad counsel. So make sure that you have people that are in your circle where there's a mutually beneficial relationship there. And then finally, you just want to get alone with yourself. Consider all that has been told to you, but in the end, you have to make that decision. And the third thing I want to address about fear is that oftentimes we allow what other people think or what other people say to frighten us and keep us from making the actual changes. What will they say if I do this? Or what will they say if I don't do this? So just be mindful that you can't please everyone. No matter what you do, somebody's not gonna like it. Somebody's gonna have something to say about it. But you just have to make sure that the decision that you made, that you're comfortable with, that you can defend the decision that you made to those people that it matters to. So be confident, make the decision. If people agree, great. If they don't, fine. And in the end, if you keep your job, great. And if you lose your job because of the decision that you made, because you thought that that was the most effective decision, then you learn something from it and move on to the next one, knowing that you learned, knowing that you're better now than you were before. Because people will cheer you one day, they'll applaud you, they'll say, yay, hey, she's great, he's great, what a good job, you're so, you're the GOAT. But then the very next day, they'll get mad at you because you're too successful. You've been successful too long. Give somebody else a chance, and then they'll root for your downfall. So people are fickle. People like a champion story, but then they like to see people fall too. So make the decision because you are confident, comfortable with this decision, because you feel that it was the right thing to do. So let's review these things. So you want to make sure that you're making whatever changes that you need to make, whether internally within yourself or externally with the people or processes around you. Be humble enough to look for your own flaws first. Because as a leader, if you're in a leadership position where people are following you, if something is not going right, then the first person that you have to look at is yourself. Again, we don't want to get into that blame or victim mentality. You want to be someone that can look at a situation and recognize your part in it all. And so if you're a leader, you have people following you, or they should be following you. And if they are following you, you have to look at what is leading to these results. And if they're not following you, the first question you want to ask is, why aren't they following me? What is the disconnect? And why aren't this group of people allowing me to lead them? Because again, you have to have that relationship. And oftentimes, if you don't have that trust, if you don't have that relationship, people aren't necessarily following you because they want to. They're just there really because it's a paycheck and you're the person with the title. But if you really want to be productive and effective and have this open line of communication so that you can know where the lumps and bumps are, then you have to know what the disconnect is. You have to be able to have that trust and relationship with the people, that you have to have them allow you to lead. And so the third thing I want to look at, again, after you've done the self-evaluation, then you can look to the other reasons, again, the other people around you, the other processes around you. And so also when you've done these self changes and now you're looking at the things around you, and you've said, okay, hey, I think this person is struggling in this area. And so when you go to talk to the people or talk about the changes that need to be made, you want to make sure that you're clear and to the point, but always with compassion, because you know how difficult it is to hear that you're not living up to the standard, or how difficult it is to hear, especially when you didn't realize it, that you're weak in a certain area. So be clear to the point, but always with compassion, and also just put it out there. Don't wait a whole lot of time. Don't think about it too much. Once you realize it, get your points together, put it out there, and be done with it. Because while it's difficult, it has to be done if you want to get the changes made. But again, you want to make sure that whatever changes that need to be made, whatever the results are, that you are looking at yourself first, and that you are humble and willing to make the changes, whether internally or externally. I hope that was helpful, and thank you so much for tuning in to this week's session. Again, if you need help, a little bit more closer help, you can contact me on my website, www.KimberlyAMatthews. And also, if you like to read and you feel like, oh, I want to read a little bit more about this to help me get my mind right, you can check out my book, The Wealthy Mind, on Amazon.com. Again, I hope this was helpful, and I will see you next time. Bye.